Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. How many times have you held something deep inside because you knew they wouldn't understand? How many times did you have a dream, a vision, a purpose burning in your soul, but you kept it to yourself? Not because you were afraid, no, but because you knew some things are not meant for everybody's ears. There's something you need to understand about people. Some of them don't want you to win. Not because you've done anything wrong, not because you don't deserve it, but because your success makes them uncomfortable. It forces them to face their own inaction, their own fears, their own excuses. When you start elevating in life, you begin to notice a shift. Some people who used to cheer for you suddenly go quiet. Others who seem to be in your corner start throwing little jabs, subtle doubts, questioning why you're doing what you're doing. You sure about that? You think that's going to work? Man, I wouldn't do that if I were you. See, it's not that they don't believe in you, it's that they don't want to believe in what's possible for themselves. Because if you win, then what does that say about them? If you push past the excuses, if you take risks, if you rise up and make something happen, then suddenly they don't have anyone else to blame for staying stuck. It's a hard truth, but not everybody clapping for you wants to see you win. Some people just want front row seats to your struggle. They want to be close enough to watch, close enough to comment, but never close enough to actually support. They'll pat you on the back while secretly hoping you fall. Because if you fall, it justifies their own fears. If you give up, it makes them feel better about never trying. And then there are the ones who don't just sit back and wait, they actively try to pull you down. Maybe they remind you of your past, bringing up old mistakes like you're still that same person. Maybe they plant seeds of doubt, making you question yourself just enough to hesitate. And sometimes they'll even disguise their discouragement as advice. I just don't want to see you get hurt. I'm just looking out for you. You know, not everybody makes it. And if you're not careful, you'll take their words to heart. You'll slow down. You'll second guess yourself. And that's exactly what they want. Jealousy doesn't always show up loud. Sometimes it's in the small casual comments, the little side-eye glances, the way they dismiss your dreams like they're just hobbies, just ideas, just things you'll probably get over. But let me tell you something, real supporters don't downplay your vision. They don't laugh at your hustle. They don't feel threatened by your growth. See, when you start moving differently, you force the people around you to make a choice. Either they grow with you or they stay behind, and some people don't want to grow. They'd rather stay in their comfort zone, dragging others down instead of rising up themselves. Because rising up, that takes work. That takes courage. That takes a level of accountability they're not ready for. So what do? You move in silence. You don't announce every step. You don't look for validation from people who secretly hope you fail. You keep your circle tight and your plans even tighter, because when you win, when you finally break through, when you prove them wrong, not with words, but with results, there won't be anything left to say. The people who were meant to be with you on the journey will be there. And the ones who weren't, they'll either fade away or watch from a distance, wondering how you did it. But you won't have to explain anything, because success has a way of speaking for itself. Energy is one of the most valuable things you have, and once it's spent, you can't get it back. Every thought you entertain, every conversation you have, every situation you engage in, it all costs you something. The question is, are you spending your energy wisely? Or are you letting people, situations, and distractions drain you before you even get to where you're going? There are people in this world who don't just take your time, they take your energy. They come to you with negativity, with doubt, with drama, and before you know it, you feel exhausted, not because of anything you've done, but because you allowed yourself to engage with the wrong energy. You ever notice how some conversations leave you feeling drained while others inspire you? That's because energy is contagious. If you constantly surround yourself with people who complain, who gossip, who make excuses, that energy starts rubbing off on you. And without realizing it, you start carrying the weight of things that were never yours to carry. Then there are the situations that steal your energy, the unnecessary arguments, the pointless debates, the need to prove yourself to people who aren't even listening. Some people will bait you into battles that don't serve you, just to drain you, just to slow you down. They'll throw little jabs, make little comments, hoping to get a reaction. And the moment you give them your attention, you've already lost. Because now, instead of focusing on your goals, your purpose, you're caught up in something that doesn't even matter. Your energy should be protected like your most valuable asset, because it is. When you wake up in the morning, you have a limited amount of focus, strength, and drive to use for the day. If you waste it on things that don't serve you, don't build you, don't push you forward, then by the time you get to what actually matters, you have nothing left to give. And that's how people lose before they even start, because they spend all their energy on distractions, on negativity, on things that had nothing to do with their mission. But when you learn to guard your energy, everything changes. You stop entertaining nonsense. You stop responding to things that don't deserve your attention. You stop feeling the need to prove yourself to people who were never going to support you in the first place. Instead, you move with intention. You choose where your energy goes. You pour into things that matter: your growth, your goals, your peace. And that's when you start seeing results. People will notice the shift. They'll wonder why you're not as available as you used to be, why you don't engage in certain conversations anymore, why you've distanced yourself from certain crowds. And some won't like it, because the moment you start protecting your energy, you become harder to control. They can't pull you into drama. They can't manipulate you with guilt. They can't drain you the way they used to. And that's when you know you're on the right path. Energy is priceless. And the moment you start treating it that way, you'll realize just how much you've been giving away for free. You don't owe anybody your time. You don't owe anybody your peace. You don't owe anybody access to your mind, your spirit, your focus. Choose wisely. Because once your energy is gone, you don't get it back. Words have power. Every word spoken is like a seed planted in the mind, in the heart, and the spirit. Some words grow into confidence, strength, and purpose. Others grow into doubt, fear, and hesitation. The things you say, the things you hear, the words you allow to take root in your life, they all shape the reality you live in. Think about the times someone spoke life into you. Maybe it was a teacher, a mentor, a friend, or even a stranger who saw something in you that you didn't see in yourself. They told you that you were capable, that you had something special, that you were built for something greater. And that seed grew. It changed the way you saw yourself. It made you believe that you could do more, be more, achieve more. That's the power of words. Now think about the opposite. Think about the moment someone told you that you weren't enough, that you were wasting your time, that your dreams were too big, your ideas too crazy, your ambitions too unrealistic. Maybe they didn't even say it directly. Maybe it was in the tone of their voice, the doubt in their eyes, the way they laughed when you shared your vision. Those words planted seeds too. And if you weren't careful, if you let them grow, they started to shape your thinking. You hesitated. You questioned yourself. You held back not because you weren't capable, but because you let the wrong seeds take root. Words don't just disappear after they're spoken. They stay with you, sometimes for years, sometimes for a lifetime. A single sentence said in a moment of anger or doubt can shape the way someone sees themselves forever. That's why you have to be intentional about what you say and who you listen to. Not every voice deserves space in your mind. Not every opinion deserves to be planted in your spirit. Be mindful of your own words too. The things you say to yourself, the way you talk about your future, the language you use when challenges come, these words matter. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm not good enough, I'll never make it, this is too hard, then don't be surprised when life starts to reflect those beliefs. You're watering the wrong seeds. But if you start speaking with purpose, if you start saying, I can figure this out, I have what it takes, I'm built for this, you'll begin to see a shift. And don't just speak life into yourself, speak it into others. The people around you, the ones you care about, they need the right seeds too. A kind word, a little encouragement, a reminder that they're capable. It might seem small to you, but to them, it could change everything. You never know who's one word away from giving up, one word away from walking away from their dreams, one word away from losing faith in themselves. That's why you have to be intentional. You have to guard your mind, protect your heart, and be selective about the words you let in. Because words are seeds. And what you allow to be planted will determine what grows in your life. There is power in what people don't know. There is strength in what you choose not to say. In a world where everyone feels the need to share every thought, every move, every plan, the ones who understand silence have the upper hand. Mystery is power because it keeps people guessing, keeps them wondering, keeps them unable to predict your next move. And when they can't predict you, they can't control you. Too many people lose momentum by announcing their every step. They share their dreams with people who don't believe in them. They talk about their goals before they've even started working. They reveal their strategy before it's fully formed. And in doing so, they give others the chance to plant doubt, to sabotage, to interfere. Some people aren't against you openly, they just need to know enough to slow you down. A little criticism here, a little skepticism there, and suddenly you're questioning yourself. The strongest moves are made in silence. A lion doesn't roar before it hunts, it moves quietly, patiently, and then it strikes. The most successful people don't advertise their process, they show the results. Because when you reveal too much too soon, you give people time to react, time to prepare, time to put obstacles in your way. But when you move in silence, by the time they realize what you've done, it's too late. You've already won. Mystery isn't about secrecy for the sake of secrecy. It's about control. It's about choosing what to share and when. It's about understanding that not everyone needs to know your every move. Some people ask questions not because they care, but because they're looking for something to use against you. Some listen to your dreams not to support them, but to remind you of every reason they think you'll fail. And it's not just about protecting your plans, it's about protecting your energy. When people don't know what you're doing, they can't drain you with their doubts, their opinions, their distractions. You stay focused, you stay locked in. You don't waste time explaining yourself or defending your choices. You just work. And while others are busy talking, busy proving, busy trying to be seen, you're building. People respect what they can't figure out. They're drawn to what they don't fully understand. That's why the most influential figures, the ones who leave the biggest impact, always carry a sense of mystery. They don't over-explain. They don't seek validation. They let their actions, their success, their results do the talking. Mystery keeps you in control. It allows you to move freely without interference, without unnecessary pressure, without distractions. It forces people to pay attention because they never quite know what's coming next. And in a world where so many are desperate to be seen, to be heard, to be acknowledged, those who understand the power of mystery stand out without even trying. The less they know, the more they wonder. The less you reveal, the more valuable your words become when you do speak. And by the time they see what you've been working on, what you've been building, what you've been creating, it's already done. There's nothing left to question, nothing left to doubt, just results. And that is power. Not every battle needs a witness. Not every struggle needs to be announced. Not every hardship needs an audience. In a world where people are quick to share their pain, their struggles, their challenges with anyone who will listen, the ones who understand the power of quiet endurance move differently. There are battles that are meant to be fought in silence, the kind of battles that shape you, that test you, that make you stronger, not because people were watching, but because you faced them alone. Growth happens in the unseen hours, in the moments when no one is clapping, when no one is checking in, when no one even knows what you're going through. And that's exactly how it should be. See, the problem with making every struggle public is that you invite too many voices into your fight. Some people will pretend to support you, but deep down they're waiting to see you fall. Others will offer advice, not because they truly understand, but because they want to feel important. And then there are the ones who will use your pain as entertainment, something to talk about, something to gossip about, something to make themselves feel better in comparison. When you let too many people into your battles, you give them power over your emotions, your decisions, your mindset. You allow their opinions to shape your actions. You start second-guessing yourself, wondering what people will think, what they will say, whether they will judge you. And suddenly, instead of focusing on the fight itself, you're performing for an audience. Some things are meant to be handled between you and God, between you and the fire inside you, between you and the quiet voice in your heart that tells you to keep going. Not everything needs to be explained. Not everything needs to be defended. Some battles are won simply by keeping your head down and doing the work, by enduring in silence, by refusing to let the world in on your process before the victory is secured. And when you fight your battles in silence, something powerful happens. You become stronger. You rely on yourself. You develop a kind of inner strength that doesn't need validation, that doesn't need sympathy, that doesn't need an audience. You learn how to navigate struggle without seeking approval. You stop wasting energy trying to prove something to people who don't matter. There is a time to speak and there is a time to stay quiet. There is a time to seek help and there is a time to stand firm on your own. But wisdom is knowing the difference. Wisdom is understanding that some victories are more powerful when no one saw the struggle, when no one knew how close you were to breaking, when no one had the chance to doubt you. And by the time they see you rise, by the time they notice the change, the strength, the success, it will already be done. No explanations needed, no justifications given, just results, because not every battle needs a witness. Some just need to be won. Success doesn't need an explanation. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't require long speeches or constant justifications. When you put in the work, when you stay disciplined, when you focus on results instead of recognition, success speaks for itself. Too many people waste energy trying to convince others of their potential. They talk about what they're going to do, how they're going to make it, how they deserve more. But real success isn't announced as proven. The loudest person in the room isn't always the most capable. The strongest move is silent progress, showing up, putting in the effort, and letting the results do the talking. People respect what they can see. Words can be doubted, but undeniable results leave no room for argument. When you succeed, the people who once doubted you, ignored you, or dismissed you won't need an explanation. They'll see it. They'll feel it. They'll recognize it not because you told them, but because success demands attention without a single word. The ones who truly make it aren't looking for applause along the way. They don't spend time defending their dreams or explaining why they're working so hard. They just keep going. They let their achievements become the response. They move in silence, build in private, and by the time the world realizes what they've done, it's already too late to doubt them. So don't waste time proving yourself to people who don't matter. Stay focused, stay consistent, and trust that when the time comes, success will say everything that needs to be said. Success isn't something you beg people to see, it's something they can't ignore. When you stay committed, when you keep pushing forward, when you let your work do the talking, the results will speak louder than any explanation ever could. Those who doubted you will have no choice but to acknowledge it. Those who ignored you will start paying attention. And by then you won't even need their recognition. Because real success isn't about proving them wrong, it's about proving yourself right. Keep going. Let your success be the only answer you ever need.